So this is just to enable that it will be in fast PWM mode. So there is no correction factor here.
So yes,
Okay.
so like what happens
Hmm.
in the correction mode? Like that is not given in the book.
Yeah. So that's why you have the data sheet. Okay. So in these data sheets, all the details are there. Okay. Phase correct PWM mode. Okay. Provides a high resolution phase corrected waveform generation option. Okay. It's more a higher resolution. Is based on the dual slope operation. Counts repeatedly from bottom to max and then from max to bottom, just like your here, not this, just like this, and based on the dual slope operation. Okay, so that is the thing, provides a higher resolution phase correct PWM. So the others will not be of higher resolution. This is of higher resolution. Non-inverting, the output is cleared on the compare match between while up counting and set on the compare match while down counting. Okay, this is also common. The operation is inverted. The dual sloper has lower maximum operation frequency, has lower maximum operation than the slope operation. Due to symmetrical nature of this, these modes are preferred for motor applications. Okay, so one thing is to 8 bits. In phase correct mode, the counter is incremented till the matches max. Okay, so in this case, you can, for one timer this. So this is the thing, we can go up to max value. Okay, for here the resolution is till 8 bits, but here you can go till max value. Okay,
So but in
so
like fast PWM also we can go up to max and the resolution is also 8 bits. Here I think it is just in the next line it is written something that when the counter reaches max it changes the count direction. I think that is something
no,
different from
count
fast
direction
PWM.
is up to low. This is a dual slope, right? So this is a dual slope, and this is the dual slope. The other is a single slope.
Okay, got it. So
Hmm?
like basically this first
Up and
counts
down.
from zero to so from bottom to top and then from
Yeah.
top to bottom.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the phase correct. So is the frequency correct mode similar to this?
So phase correct means that the resolution is higher. Okay. Higher resolution. Mostly it is the higher resolution. So what happens is if the resolution is big, then there can be gaps, right? So because of that, there will be some. It's like something like your quantization kind of error. You're aware of quantization error. So it will be either that or this. So based on that, there will be some error. But if the resolution is smaller, the accuracy is better. So it's just they're just saying that the accuracy is better. Okay, so this is actually used in motor control applications in which the pulse exactly you have to give 20, let's say 22 kilohertz or 30 kilohertz. You know, the resolution, the accuracy is much more important here.
So
Okay.
sir, here when you're talking about the resolution, you are talking about the duty cycle resolution
Yeah.
or like the timer value like a resolution.
So these are both timer value and duty cycle. They are all related. Okay. So ultimately, this PWM is nothing but based on the timer only. Okay. So based on the execution of the timer, it keeps on counting and then it goes down. Keeps on counting, it goes down. Okay.
Okay, sir. So like this was the phase correct. So like the is the
Hmm.
frequency correct similar to this?
Frequency correct. 1 minute. I just forgotten. Fast frequency correct mode. So there are actually too many things. Yeah. The for phase can, yeah. And refer to this. Hmm. Compare output frequency correct PWM. Compare much. Disconnected for all this. Clear compare match and compare when down counting. So yeah, here also you have this up counting and down counting. Is to compare match when up counting equals top. Okay, 1 minute. Frequency phase and frequency correct mode. Is good here. Compare output of phase correct and phase and frequency correct PWM. So in this case, they are all when up counting, compare match when up counting, clear on compare match when down counting. So it is when this immediate So in this case, the difference is, if you're asking between this difference, the top is, in this case for normal, the default top is FFFF. In this case, the top is given by ICR1 and OCR1A. Okay, there these maximum values are based on different register values. That is one difference. Okay, and coming to phase correct here, again the maximum values are, again these are the different maximum values. Okay, but if you're talking about frequency phase and frequency correct, so I think it is mostly to do with the resolution. If the resolution is small, if you have high resolution, both the phase and frequency correction will happen. These are again related to each other, but then there are different things because there is a delay and all. But both the things are achieved through this higher resolution.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, there can be some mistakes also. Means in unintended mistakes. Let's say there is a new value written to OCR1, which it is, or ICR1, which is lower than the current value of this. Let's say that you keep on up counting the counter register keeps on increasing and increasing, and the moment, and then suddenly the new value of this is value. So it will always compare whether it is, this thing is greater than this. But let's say this limit itself is lower than the present value of this, then it will ignore that value. Okay, and it will keep on increasing, and then it will, that is one problem with it. It will keep on increasing, and it will go till till it goes to the maximum value of the highest value possible. So that is one part. Okay, so this value, this you have to always take care that let's say that if it is already exceeded, let's say it is let's say this value is 100, right? But you're putting a limit of 70, then it will keep on, it will exceeding 70, and it will go till here. Okay.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Yeah, so high frequency PWM generation, okay, differs from the PWM this. Anyway, so this is one is one to that it will allow you to have high frequency and higher resolution. Okay. Anything else? Any other question? See, as I told you that see, there are plenty of things here, so that's why this book has things like this book has things like a lot of example codes and all. So it's not possible to give all the all the architecture details. So that's why for directly whatever you need directly you can go to this data sheet. I know it's quite big, 346 pages, but it has in details, it will give all the things. Okay. You can just click there, and then from here you can directly go to the topic, and then quickly you can quickly you can access this. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? I just started reading chapter 10. The circuit of the work explained in this without explanation. It's just like factual stuff. Do we need to just know these facts? Yeah. So as I said, I was not very. I said that chapter 8 is not so important. You can just brush through it because this will be required when you actually use a hardware AVR microcontroller and interface with it. Okay. So just for only when you're actually connecting things and whenever you're actually programming the microcontroller, then only this will be required. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let me go through this data sheet. Okay, so this data sheet, so primarily people use this data sheet to choose what kind of microcontroller to use to understand the benefits of this microcontroller, and then there are these functionalities, how they have to be used, which second is once you are using it directly, it will give more details. There are plenty of, I think maybe 40-50% of these details are already there in this book, but they'll have in details that what are the bit patterns you should give, so that it can be operated in the correct way. Okay, so coming to this, so yeah, coming back to this, so these are one of the essential things that people look at. So that's why this is in the first page. By looking at this, people can decide whether they want to use this microcontroller or not. So first of all, high performance is qualitative. Advanced RISC architecture. So again, if a person knows what is a RISC architecture, so they'll say that, okay, how many instructions are there? Not too many, but good enough for that. How many general purpose working registers? So this will help you for faster operation or execution of the program. Okay, then fully static operation. It has to do the hardware and yeah, so it has to do with this hardware part. Okay, and then not much of movement, and then up to 16 MIPS through at this. That means here you can have 16 million instructions per cycle. That means at each clock pulse you'll be able to execute one instruction. This is up to, based on the code that you have, 2-cycle multiplier. So this is actually useful for digital signal processing and other cases in which you need to execute maths program. So a 2-cycle, there is a dedicated multiplier for that. So it will take 2 cycles. And there are these hardware things like 32 kilobyte flash, write erase cycles, data retention. JTAG is for accessing, for debugging support, for going into the accessing the registers, and also for programming the flashes and all. Okay. Then 2-bit counters with separate prescalers, and yeah. So here, yeah, I think you must have gone through this timer counter, prescalers and compare. So counters mean, let's say that what is the frequency at which you can operate the counters, right? At lower frequencies or at higher frequencies. Okay, that also brings the resolution. Okay, so yeah. So higher the frequency, the time step will be smaller. Okay, and lower is the frequency, the time step will be slower. So that can create some problems in the phase, as well as it can create some problem during the frequency also. If your accuracy of frequency, it's like if you have very you cannot distinguish between 28.9 kilohertz or 29 kilohertz, so that can, so resolution will suffer. So 4 PWM channels. So typically these 4 PWM channels can be used sufficient for DC motors, in which you can give these pulses to these edge bridge circuit, and then the 8 channel 10-bit ADC. So this will tell you what is the resolution of your ADC, and so what is the resolution of your ADC, and how many channels, so how many inputs can you take, whether you can take eight inputs or lower or higher. So in this case you can take 8 inputs and 8-bit ADC. That means each time you acquire a signal, you convert it into a 10-bit digital code. So that tells you about the resolution of this. That tells you about the resolution at which you can represent these bits. So typically, the first 1 or 2 bits will have the first 1 or 2 bits will have this noise, which you have to ignore, but it will also tell you that the accuracy again. So higher bits are there, you can represent it in a more accurate manner. So single-ended channels, differential channels, okay, and then this is again serial transfer of data. Okay, special power on reset programmable sleep modes is to save your energy. So it can be, you can shut down different modules like ADC modules or other modules, so that you can save energy. And then you can operate at different modes, operating voltages. Okay, and between 2.7 to 5.5 or per atmega, only 32. It has to be from 4.5 to 5.5. And speed grades, you can go to 0 to 8 megahertz or 0 to 16 megahertz. And power consumption, idle mode or power down mode, you can when you don't need it, you can put it in power down mode. In that case, it will be consuming very less current. So let's say that you're using your microcontroller in some remote application, so when there is no power, so then you can use these power modes. This is the pin configurations, and so here you'll have all these details of ports and the CPU core, the internal CPU core. Then you have status register. So this is already, I think, covered in the book. Then you have this stack pointer. Then you have so this is different memory. So applications. So this is where your code will reside. But here, this is the boot flash. You cannot write your code inside here. Okay, then you have the SRAM data memory. Right. So this is the data memory. So this is quick data access. So this is for temporary data. So SRAM is again the moment the power goes, the SRAM data will evaporate. So these are different control registers. Okay, so this is for the permanent memory. So several registers are the input output memory, external clock, crystal oscillator, how to connect it with capacitors and all. This is quite, will give you some accurate pulses. Low frequency crystal oscillator. So you can go through this. So many of them are many of them are self-explanatory, but many of them again are used mostly used when you're actually using this microcontroller in hardware. Okay, and you can put it in simulation mode, but many of them may not be used that time. Okay. So this is the watchdog timer. This is the external reset. Instructions, interrupt instructions. So this is your clear timer compared to match. So let's say something matches, then you clear the timer, and then some flag will just get generated that some time has elapsed. Prescaler. So this is the prescaler. So this is the this will tell you that at what rate the timer will get updated. So that is the prescaler factor. At high speed rate or high frequency rate or low frequency rate. Okay. Yeah. So do you have any questions? Started reading this. Any other questions? Hello. Yeah. So anybody has okay has any doubt in the timer section about timer 1 or timer 2? Hello. The prescalers. So you can divide the clock till divide by 1024. Okay, this is for the count timer 0. Okay, anything on the chapter 7? That is a very important chapter. 1 minute. I'll just ask you. In assembly and C, or rather C, where is it? I'll ask you something. Mm, okay, maybe this I'll ask. Just take some random person. Okay, maybe I'll ask Anirudh Gupta. Would you like to explain this? Have you understood? Have you gone? First of all, have you gone through this chapter 7? Hello. 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 Are you listening? Okay. This ask somebody else. Okay, maybe I'll ask. Sirsha, are you able to hear me? Hello. 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 Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sirsha, can you answer this? Can you just explain this? It's a very simple program. What is happening here? Okay. So nobody like to answer? Hello? Are you doing some kind of boycotting or what is it? Is there any mass boycotting or maybe my voice is not audible? What is it? Actually,
You are audible.
I'm audible. So you're just doing some mass boycotting. Okay. So maybe I'll just ask somebody to explain this. Hmm? Okay. Maybe where was this? Yeah. Can you just understand this bit operation? Do you understand this masking and all? Hello. Okay, maybe I'll just ask Shubham Kumar. Maybe he's the only person who can hear me. Maybe. So Shubham, can you explain this program?
Hello. So
Yes.
program 7.18.
Yes.
Monitors bit 7 of bit. Sir, in the first one, we have. Sir, let me read the question first. Right, in universal program. So first we have to monitor this port B. So we have to take input from port B. So we are making this DDRB bit position 70 by ANDing this 0B 11111. This will make this bit position 7 of DDRB 0. So then we have to continuously do this process. So this is the infinite loop inside of which we are taking the input from pin B, that is the input from IO port B.
Okay, just
And
one minute,
checking its.
one minute. Let's say that instead of one, it is two or three. So that is also fine, right? So it's like this while this is infinite is because while this is true. Okay, so true is something positive, or yeah, true is something positive. So once this is true, so that's why this will keep on moving. While one is while this value is true, so that's why this keeps on executing. Okay, just for your information. Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
So then we are taking this input from port B through pin B and checking whether the bit 7 position is 1. Bit
Okay,
7
one means
position
if
is.
this is true again. If this is
Yes,
true,
sir. If
this
this
entire
is
thing
true,
is.
then we are making this DDRB position. Um, the port B input. Then we are making this bit position number 4 of this port B as an input by ANDing this DDRB with 0 BB at 0 at this fourth position, bit 4 position, or otherwise we are making that
Yes.
port to output.
Okay. Can you tell me why this returns 0?
So what?
Why do you
Return
have this
0,
return
that is
0?
if program successfully completes from main, we can leave
So
it also. No problem.
main function is only for the execution.
What?
It's not returning anything.
Pardon? Yeah, it's int main. Yes. So it is supposed to return integer type. Right? That is the reason. Okay. So this is a very basic understanding of this. Let us go to little bit higher. Okay, this is just inverting operations. This inverting operations, and yeah. So this is again, this is a short form of writing these things. This means DDRB is equal to DDRB ampersand this means there will be bit operations within this. Okay. And bit shift. Yeah. So
Sir,
this
why
shift
are we adding even though we can explicitly write equal to?
where? Why are we
So,
adding?
and so we are using the AND operator even though we can directly write equal to. For example, say DDRB equals to 0B 0 and then 6. Once we can write it that way, then why are we using this and
This one.
or operator?
No. And an operator is, I'll tell you why. Because in this case you have to calculate that. So in this case I am saying that, so the DDRB is equal to DDRB ampersand this. What does it mean? The other bits will remain same. Okay, only this thing will become 0. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
that is the thing. So that is to by mistake. So what is happening? What will happen is by mistake I might change the status of other things because I don't know the status of other things, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm saying that I am multiplying with 1 means I'll keep the status as it is. But by multiplying with this, I have made my intentions very clear that others may remain as it is, but only this bit should become 0. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other question? Right shift, left shift. So right shift is again straightforward, right? So 3 times and all. So if you do right shift, actually this was, let's say it gets divided by 2 each time you shift, right? And if you do left shift, it gets multiplied by 2, right? But
Sir, and the new bits that are added are always zeros.
which one? Yeah. They are all zeros when you do left shift and right shift. Okay, these are again very powerful things. So this is for again output digital output operations. So in this case, negation of one shift 3, right? So that means this is actually 0 0 0 0 0, last is 1. So 3, it will be shifted to 3 times. So it will go, so this will become 0 0 0, and then there'll be 1 and 0 0 0. And then what you do is you do a negation of that. That means the zeros will be converted to 1, the 1 will become zeros. Okay. Then you have, okay, these are very straightforward things. Data conversions. Okay, so this is again ASCII to BCD. So this is for displaying things and all, characters and all. So let's say our character 0 is 30, 2 is 32, 4 is 34. Okay, so this in hex, so the moment you directly display something in ASCII, it will actually be at the output pins, it will be displayed in binary form, right? So because it is in binary form, so so ultimately this equivalent binary form will get displayed. Okay. And yeah, these are again straightforward. So masking, so this is about masking. So that is the reason why you're asking, right? So I don't know what is my previous value of Z, but I want to say that I want to keep the first nibble 0. The next nibble I want to make it whatever I want to extract the last 4 bits. So that's why I'm doing this AND operation. And checksum bytes, again, I think this is I think I have talked about. So checksum is again you add them so that before and after, let's say, transmission, suppose you're transmitting from one place to the other, the value remains the same. And then this is about the 25 26. So this is about the extracting the data. Okay, so in this case, you just this x is nothing but that, like the index 0 1 2 3. So one by one you'll be able to extract these values. Okay, so one by one, and then you keep on. So this way, rather than adding them one by one, the loop you can directly add them. So this is one for loop. So in this for loop, you one by one you read it in, let's say, to port A, and then you add the summation, and then port B you keep on giving the sum. Okay. So do you have any doubts in chapter 7? Because 7 is again an important thing because it's written in C. It's for C. So any doubts in chapter 7?
Sir, in the checksum byte, why there is the negative of the sum and plus 1 in that example?
So checksum is that the total should add up to 0. So that is a thing. Okay. So let's say A minus A is 0, right? So let's say you're transmitting from what is this? Okay, we don't want to change any other bit of the register to prevent other bits from leaving their initial state. What is this discussion? We don't want to change any other bit of the register. Okay, that masking thing. That is a very important thing because we don't, yeah, to prevent them from leaving their initial state. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, what was your question again? Hello, what was the question?
In the checksum byte, why you
Checksum.
negative?
So that's why I said. So let's say that you're transmitting something. You know, you are transmitting something, and 1 minute. Where is your? So when you're transmitting something, so you the moment you take a negative of that, right? And you know that the checksum byte will, the moment you add, suppose, and you have received all the things. Okay, I'll just give you here. This is the checksum byte. You'll remove this one. Why will you remove this one? Because ultimately, for simplicity, we'll get some. If we do we'll do it in such a way that finally we'll get some 0 0. Okay, so if we get 0 0, that means, so you don't need to remember anything. You say that if I add my if I suppose you're transmitting these 4 data, okay, and the sender end is saying that, look, my 2's complement is this is E8, okay, and this is my 2's complement. I'll put it in 2's complement. Okay, so from the other end, suppose I'm receiving this one by one, this and this. All I need to do is add them together. Whatever checksum byte I've got, I'll add them together, and of course I'll drop the carry. The moment I get this 0 0, that means I'll be rest assured that that yes, this is everything is fine. But let's say something has got corrupted, has been, let's say that instead of 62 there was something called 62, it has become 22, so it will not add up to 0 0. Okay, so that is the reason. So it's for ease of understanding, because this is some 0 0 is very standard, and so the moment you add them together, you'll get some immediately you'll come to know whether it has got corrupted or not corrupted. Okay, any other question? So different data types, that is also important for C. You have gone through these different data types, right? Unsigned char, integer, character, all. So they have different word length, bit lengths, right? So any other question? Hello. Binary hex to this. Okay, maybe I'll go to chapter 6. Yeah, anything on this? Directives, these are straightforward. High and low functions. Register, indirect. Yeah, so you're trying to access these registers. Immediate accessing mode, how we can quickly address these registers. So here also you're getting some AND-I operation, right? So only this bit is will remain the same, others will become 0. Direct addressing modes. So directly you give the address. There is some example. Maybe I'll just ask with memory address. Indirect, okay, the indirect addressing modes. Yeah. Yeah, so this is again indirect addressing modes. The benefit of this is it will behave as a variable and you keep on incrementing. So mind you that you don't, for let's say this XYZ are registers which contain the addresses. So you cannot directly increment the Y. You have to increment YL, the lower byte of the lower byte of the addressing, and then you keep on incrementing and then storing some value. Okay, so you don't need to you specifically write the address one by one. So this is for quick execution of operations. Okay, after the program is run, auto increment and auto decrement. So the pointer to the memory, the location, initially you start with some memory location, and then one by one you manipulate the memory locations. Okay, once you manipulate the memory locations, you quickly you can dump data. Let's say that you keep let's say you started with 1600 locations in hex, let's say, and then you store data one by one. So all you need to do is increment. Either you put increment or you can do post increment. So this is about hello. How are you writing hello here? And then using register indirect addressing mode and increment pointer. When simulating this, make sure that memory location have the message hello. Okay, so yeah, so in this case indirect addressing mode means it will be behaving as a variable, and then from there it will be directly, you'll be just you can just directly increment it, and then you use one by one, you just dump memories to it, values to it. So yeah, so this is indirect memory. Indirect thing is this is post increment. So first you extract the address from it, and then you do some manipulation, either read from it or write into it, and then after that you do the operation. So pre increment is beforehand you decrement the let's say the pre decrement. Beforehand, you earlier it was pointing to some location, now it will point to a previous location, and there you dump that value. Okay, that is about here. So this is for fast operation. Quickly, let's say in some memory location, you're trying to clear 16 memory locations. So one by one, you don't have to say 60, 61, 62, 63. So you can keep on updating one by one. You can keep on updating the memory locations, and then from that you'll be clearing the memory locations. Okay, so yeah, any doubts so far? We have had a course in C programming and data science in our first year. Okay, nice. Okay, so yeah, but this is about, okay, so this is about the byte operation. So this is about embedded C. Okay, so this is about embedded C. Okay, so apart from the C, that so they did not talk about the underlying registers, the timings, and all those things. So here you have to understand the difference between the normal C and the embedded C. Okay, the embedded C, you have to talk about registers, the architecture. You have to be aware of the architecture. Okay, so the port configurations, so all these things. So basically, if you know C and if you know assembly, I mean, you can do a lot of things actually. Okay, from that perspective, you'll be able to know the internal hardware architecture and all, and then from that you'll be able to do this. Okay, yeah. So any questions on this so far? Yeah, so you can also store data into the program space. Okay, program space is the code space where you write the code. So you can also put the data in chunks of bytes. So typically this address space, so they're typically point to 2 byte, 2 byte at each point. The address points to 2 byte, but here you can break them. The moment you're using them for data, you can put it in .db directive, and then you can put them in terms of you can put them in terms of data. So in this case, let's say that here .org is 500. So .org is 500 means that you intend to start at 500 memory location. So here you want to use it as a data storage part. So what do you do is, so here in this case, I think I forgot last time that it is a little Indian case. So because it is a little Indian case, so here the 500 actually is supposed to take point to 2 bytes of instructions. So or rather in this case we are trying to use it as for storing 2 bytes for each memory location. So here 500 you'll get for 500 lower location, the one will be stored for higher byte of for higher 500 will store two things, 1 and 8. Then 501 will store 5 and 3. So basically there is something called the lower address and the higher address. Okay, so here the first byte of data in the low byte of location, the second byte of data, which is this, goes to the high byte of location this. So this 500 is again used to store both the 1 byte data. So 1 byte and 1 byte, it will be used to store. And then again 501 will store. So and those let's say that so here in this case, so if there is some empty space, it will convert that to, it will just put them into zeros. Okay. So data 2 will be located after data 1. So 502 of memory. Here is this 1 byte of data. So the next byte will be full of zeros. Okay. So this is how your program memory looks like. So here you can also put it in terms of data words. So here itself, the lower byte and higher byte will be stored in those lower memory and higher memories. So this is how it will be stored. So how many of you are there? Do you have any class after this? Hello? Hello? Yes? So do you have any class after this? No. Well, no, sir. Okay. For you. Okay. So there are people from different departments. Yeah, so this is again used for this thing. So this is yeah, so there are, in this case there was this is written in a bit tricky manner. So in this case they are saying that if the LSB is 0, then you read the lower byte, else you read the higher byte. Okay, so in this case there is an address, and then there are some sub addresses for its lower and higher, for accessing its lower and higher byte, because each address points to 2 byte. So in this case, so for this, so this is how they are stored here. Okay, so here, yeah, you have these 4, yeah, so 2 bytes. This is again 2 bytes. Okay, so here you have this. So this is the way to access. So there is just they are just telling you that how to read, how to. This is only for storing data in a code memory. Okay, so how to data in a code memories, which typically the address points to the 2 sets of data. So here, so they are just telling you that how to access this. So in this case, to read the lower byte, you have to make it 0. To read the higher byte, the LSB has to be 1. So that is their that is the way they are they have you know that they were defined. That's the way you will be doing it actually. Okay. Location, analyze how the program works, and state where stored after this. So here in this case, send it to port B. Okay, so here in this case again, you're accessing this. Yeah, so you're accessing this memory location. Okay, the question is that in this, assume that the world is burned into, already there is some data present in the ROM location starting at 500, and the program is burned into ROM location. Analyze how the program works and state where world piece is stored after this program is run. Okay, so here in this case, you are loading these. This is a pointer address. Okay, and then you are shifting by 1. Okay, because of this LSB thing and all. So based on that, you want to read the low byte and the high byte. So from that, you're putting it. You're reading from that my data. Okay, and from there you are putting that memory location here. Yeah, anybody? Hello. Okay, so from here you're again sending it. So one by one you're sending it to port B. Okay, and then pointing to next byte. ZL, here you're again pointing to the next byte. So one by one you're accessing the data. Okay, load this with this. So world piece, that's why you're trying to search for this W, pointed out by this, send it to port B. So Uh-huh. Yes. Yes, Asutosh, you're trying to say something? Asutosh? Your microphone. Okay. So if you see here, so it is basically, it is just saying this, that world peace is there. Okay. So they're just stored in different low byte, high byte, and this is again for the same memory location is used to store two a byte of data. So world peace and all. Okay. So this is what it is saying, that you loads with the contents of low byte, and this contains 500. This is loaded to port B, is incremented to make Z is equal to this. You'll get the contents of the high byte location, which is character O. After this program, we send for the character world to port B character time. The loop version of this program is given as an example. Okay. So basically, it just extracts the data and puts it into some other memory locations. Okay. Yeah. So here in this case, there is already some data already programmed. So from one place to another, again, you're putting into port B 1 byte at a time. Okay. So from high byte and all, this is the pointer values, and from there you're taking from this value, and then you're reading from this, putting into R20, and from R20 again you're pushing it to port B. Port B is your output LED, and from there you're one by one you're just putting into this data is. Yeah. So auto increment, I think I've already told you that this is just a the memory location will keep on getting incremented. So it will point to different increasing values of addresses, and then you can play around. We can read from it. You can write into it. So this is for, again, this is again for lookup table. So sometimes what you need to do is, let's say there are some mathematical functions, or let's say that in some places you have things like the efficiency. But let's say that the efficiency of let's say for motors. Okay, so for example, motors that at different torque speeds, the efficiency values are different. So you cannot remember everything. So in that case, you can just put them into lookup tables. So this is a 1D lookup table. So 0 0 means 0. Okay, so that kind of thing. So here you're just using them, how to use the code memory into data memory. So that is about that. Okay. Accessing lookup table in RAM. Yes, you can also access lookup table in RAM also, but RAM is temporary memory. Okay. So maybe you have immediately generated something in RAM. From RAM, you can dump the value to permanent memory. So for that, you have to access it. Yeah. So you can also have bit addressability. So bit by bit, you can set bits in registers. Okay. So here in this case, you are able to set bits here, right? So this is basically like ORing. Okay, it will just OR. It will just set these bits, which are 1, contains 7D. Notice that is a byte oriented. Clear. You can clear bits also. You can copy bits, locations. Yeah. So yeah. So again, so these are again quite straightforward. There is some register location here, and then from there you're trying to store some value into that register and all. So anyway, so what I'll do is, using all these things, you have to go through all the programs. So since you have no doubts, so I'll start giving assignments, but before that you do some practicing. Okay, so you do some practicing, and then I'll be giving you you have to learn this AVR Studio, or maybe Atmel Studio you have to learn. Okay, so how many of you know Atmel Studio?
Sir, I have it on my laptop, but
Okay.
I have not used it much.
Okay. So basically, you have to use it in simulation mode. So I'll maybe after a few days, I'll be giving you some assignments. So these assignments, you have to basically use your common sense and all. So that's why you have to go through all these examples, and from that you have to use. So these examples are good because in the way that they teach you how to use different registers and the way you code and all you optimize and all. So I'll be giving you some how and where to practice. What do you mean how and where to practice? Can you explain how and where to practice? So practice you can do in this Atmel Studio. You can, after installing this Atmel Studio, you can write some programs on your own. You can directly use these programs also, maybe in assembly or C, whatever you want. Maybe I'll ask you to write both. And so these are just direct, they'll be having example codes also in the Avia Atmel Studio. And then you can start with those executions, and then you'll see. So what always I suggest is there are these debugging modes or step-by-step execution modes. So once you are writing this code, you can execute them, and you can find out that what are the changes in the register and all that. So like, for example, let's say that you're executing this code one by one. So you'll be able to know what is the suddenly this the value earlier it was 0. Now it will be updated with some value of pin B, or maybe it will be updated with some value of 0F or something. So all these things you'll be able to know actually. So you can definitely practice in Atmel Studio by directly using these this code. And of course there will be, you have to so here you have to be sure to include this M32 def and all, so that they'll unpack a lot of declarations and the definitions which are required for execution of this, which will have information about the architecture and all. And you can execute, and then it should be executable. So you have to compile the code, and once it's compiled, then I think that will be that means through syntax it is fine, but you can verify by executing that, right? By executing, do step-by-step execution of the Atmel Studio, you'll be able to do it. Okay. So who anybody who can have problems with installing Avia Studio, or you can raise your hand. Hello. Hello. So all of you can install Avia Atmel Studio. All of you have laptops. Of course, you must be having laptops, but yeah. Okay, fine. So I'll be giving you some example, not now. So I'll also give you some time to I'll give to still go through till chapter 10. Okay, and then I'll give you maybe after a week or so, once Professor Banibrata Mukherjee has completed ADC DAC. So then I'll be again taking you some questions from you. For if you, I understand that many of you might have not read several chapters. So as I said, that once if you have some doubt, you can go through this, or you can go through the data sheets also. The data sheets have a lot of details about certain things. Okay, so you can go through this, and after combining this and this, we can have a on the next class we'll have another doubt clearing sessions on till chapter 10, and then I'll be teaching you on chapter 13. Okay, that I'll be teaching you. And so by that time, hopefully then I'll be giving you some assignments. Okay, some assignments so that you can practice in your Avia Studio, and you have to compile it, and you have to see whether it's at least syntax, in terms of syntax it's fine, and you can also verify through this step-by-step execution routine of Atmel to see whether whatever value you're getting as per the requirement or not. Let's say something gets written into some RAM value or some RAM locations or not. So those kind of things. Okay, maybe you can analyze things like the stack. So those kind of things you can always look at. Yeah. So any questions on this? Which date you will resume lecture? So as I said, it depends on Professor Banibrata's this thing. So it'll happen after he completes ADC DAC. Okay, the hardware part, the interfacing part. After that.
Sir, I was wondering, like instead of using an Atmega 32 or 16, can we use a like 8051, or is it a completely different thing?
It's not a completely different thing. So this is little bit advanced as compared to 8051. Okay, it has a lot of other features, it's a little bit more powerful.
Okay, so but the syntax would be the same.
Which one? Syntax for which one?
For both 8051.
The architectures are different, right?
Yes,
8051
yeah,
and Atmega are different architectures.
Yeah.
So all these syntaxes may not be the same. So one because of the architecture and also because of the coding styles and all. So because the architectures are same or different, so that's why you'll be having different problems. So the same code cannot work in 8051. It may be similar, but it cannot work on the same thing.
Okay.
So why this Atmega is important? Because it contains all the features that typically even advanced processors have. So all you need to do is scale up. So once you're thorough about this Atmega 32, you can handle any microcontroller. Okay. So 8051 again is not so powerful, but anyways, but as I said, the same programming will not be there available. So yeah. So this architecture makes a huge difference actually. Because of the architecture, all the coding, the possibilities of bit operations, this and that, and the port and all these things change actually. Atmel Studio. One more thing is, so yeah. What is this? Yeah. So one more thing is, I have uploaded. There are some videos. I think there are some videos you can go through the videos. I think like in lecture 2 slide PPT, there are some videos on Arduino and Atmega 32 board. So this will have a lot of demos, so that you can go through them. So you can enrich your understanding. So because there has not been any practical demo or something, but we are teaching a very practical course, so you can go through these videos. Okay, so I think it's in the first or second slide. I have updated that. Okay, so could any of you could go through that slide which I have updated? It's in the same link that I had shared the demo on the demo on this this normal embedded controls systems for the temperature controller. But okay, yeah, so you can go through this. I'm gonna just show you. Yeah, somebody has some question. It'll be great if you give us 2 weeks or so before giving assignment, so we can become thorough with the book and Atmel Studio. Yes, of course. So it will be today is Thursday. So yeah, so maybe I'll give you. I mean, maybe I'll start giving assignments after 8 to 9 days. That is where I think you'll be completing. Professor Banirbhata will be completing the ADC part, and yeah, after that I'll be giving. So you'll get some time to do that. Okay, so that is important. You'll get some hands-on understanding and experience and all. So coming to Let me just share once again. Okay, so yeah, you will get more time so to do the examples. So, but again, I'm saying please go through all the examples so that you'll be able to do these things. Okay, anybody has any questions? So maybe you can start practicing also. Maybe you can go through these examples and start practicing. From there you can, yes, I think, 1 minute. Yeah. So there are these videos, demo videos. You can go through these demo videos to have some practical understanding of the AVR microcontroller. Okay. You can go through this also. So this is, yeah, not this, sorry. This one. Okay. Some YouTube videos. This is already uploaded. The updated version is already uploaded in the files. So you can go click on this and you can have uh, your understanding on this. Okay. Anything, any concerns, any questions? So again, I'd like to reiterate that yeah, let's say that you like I think what is his name? I think Oyan, some person called Oyan, right? Asked me about this PWMs and fast PWM and frequency and all. So those things for many of the details are not there in the book. You can always go to this data sheet, so they'll have those details. Okay, because there can be hundreds of more, not hundreds. I mean, yeah, there can be hundreds of possibilities of modes combination. If you combine, if there are different combinations, there can be hundreds of combinations. So, but in each, so in each configuration, you can get a lot of insight. So all these things will be in details will be given in the data sheet. Okay. You can go through this data sheet document. Okay. So anything else? Any questions?
No, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So your question was about Arduino, right? So Arduino programming is actually easier than this normal Atmega 32C programming. Okay, so it actually underneath it may be using a Atmega 32 microcontroller, but it has some wraparound functions and all. Okay, so it's easier to use. So you don't need to bother too much about the architecture and all. So it's easier. It's an easier form of C, you would say. Okay, so but again, I said that I suggest that you use direct C programming. Okay, so rather than using Arduino, because using C programming in Atmel Studio, it'll be easier for you to understand the concepts. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? So maybe I'll just write down. Please install Atmel Studio for assignments. Okay. Yeah, I think very few people are there, so people have some work. Fine. So I think we'll again meet after 1 or 2 weeks. So by that time, please be ready with chapter 10. Till chapter 10, you should read, and then we'll again have some question answer sessions, and followed by ADC DAC interfacing and programming. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Bye.